Hi, everyone. Rachel LaSala here, Managing Director of Women's Soccer. Thanks for being here tonight. Welcome to this session, hangout, we're still deciding what to call it, in Brandi's Corner. We're really glad you could join us in a month where we are which highlights our need to continually reflect on how Black history has shaped our country and, of course, our beloved game. As we celebrate Black History Month, current U.S. Women National Team star Crystal Dunn visits Brandi's Corner to discuss change, which both Crystal and Brandi have experienced in the glare of the public eye. Change isn't always welcome or easy, but it is inevitable. So why not view it as an opportunity instead of an obstacle? Led by executive career coach Erica Harris, this interactive workshop will provide us with some tools for doing just that. A quick touch base and some housekeeping. We're going to go back to the floor you just came from. When you will notice logos surrounding the floor today. We are spotlighting the following organizations as they help further change and development for women, girls, and allies too, through sports, leadership, education, and beyond. From left down and then across to the other side, you will find Purposeful Seed, Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative, the Surge Institute, which, fun fact, this is our manager of Brandi's Corner, Maria Mernan, connected with our expert executive coach, Erica Harris, that you will meet later, and Black Women in Sports Foundation. Please click on those logos of those organizations to learn more and consider a donation or show your support by following their networks. You can also follow the trailblazers on our call, both Crystal Dunn and Erica Harris and Brandi Chastain as well. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to some of the representatives of Women in Soccer that are here, Pip Penman, Maria Mernan, Courtney Levinson, or me, Rachel LaSala, Women in Soccer in title. We are happy to help clarify anything. That's all for me. So again, say hello to a few more folks around the floor, tell them why you've jumped in, and we'll come back to presenter mode in about 2 minutes.
Just a glorious, glorious, glorious evening. I am so excited. I said before I just came out, I have butterflies like it was the time I was throwing out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. I am so excited about tonight. I'm excited for multiple reasons. We're going to get to those. Number one, I would like to, as always, say thank you to everybody at Women in Soccer for caring so much about the game, the participants, the administrators. Wherever you come from, you are welcome here. So I love that kind of inclusion. So thank you to all of you. I'm dedicating, I didn't do this last time, but I feel inspired because it's Black History Month. I have had so many Black people who have really shaped my life. And I want to call them out today. And I'm dedicating tonight to this Brandi's Corner to Lynette Hammond, who I went to elementary school with, and she lived across the street. She had the most amazing laugh, the greatest family. We had dance parties to Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, and her dog was a little bit scary, I will say. He chased me around the ping pong table a few times. And also to Stephen Robertson, who was a great friend of mine since second grade. He was the smartest, had the best handwriting and the fastest until I beat him that one time on the elementary school playground, and I will never let him live that down because that is right up there with the World Cup championship. I'm not kidding. So without further ado, I would like to bring to this panel and share this stage with me, Erica Harris and Crystal Dunn. I want to see their faces so that I can then introduce them. And I will also allow you to introduce yourself. If I forget anything, there's so much to say, but this is serendipity, in my opinion, Erica, that we found each other, that we're together. We wanted to talk about Black History Month. We wanted to talk about change that's happening in the United States and the world. And we wanted to talk about how we can all accept change as a positive opportunity. And we found you, and who knew you played soccer. Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you, when Maria called me, I was like, okay, so you must have God's phone number. Like, I really don't even believe that you all didn't know that that soccer was such a big part of my life. So the fact that I'm a facilitator is one thing, but the fact that I'm a soccer fan, that I'm a fan of yours, I'm a fan of Crystal's, like that blows my mind every time. So we
are meant to be together. And Crystal doesn't really need introduction, but Crystal, I am so grateful for you coming today, for showing up. I think that's a big deal. Showing up is a part of change. And I think if you really want change to occur, you have to show up to it. And so thank you so much. We all know that you're a World Cup champion, and I love seeing the crest now with the 4 stars, and everybody that belongs to that and owns that star is incredible. You know, I don't need to tell your story. I want you to talk about what it's like now as a veteran player on the U.S. Women's National Team, playing for World Cup championships. Now we're getting ready for the Olympic Games. This is your fourth professional team now that you've been on with Portland. And what is it like to be Crystal Dunn right now?
I wish I had some really exciting stories to really, share with everyone. But, life has been, unexpected at many times. I think I got into soccer solely just because my parents moved me out to Long Island and I had access to it there. My family's from the inner city, so Queens, New York, Brooklyn kind of area. And, I was really appreciative of my parents giving me that opportunity to see soccer because I didn't see it when I was in the city. So, I fell in love with the sport from a very young age, and just, I really stayed, short term. I never thought I would be where I was today when I was a young girl kicking the ball around for the first time. So I think that's really, why I'm so passionate about the game still till this day, because soccer has opened up so many doors for me that I never knew could even happen. So I'm just, very blessed and grateful for, being a part of a World Cup championship team and just, being able to give my all to my teammates every single time I step on the field. I think that's something that I try to teach everybody is you have to enjoy what you do. You can't be showing up for, any other reason other than that you truly want to be there and you just want to be at your best at all times. So
well, that is a beautiful segue, my friend, into a very dear friend of yours who I didn't have to beg too hard to get a little bit of an insight on Crystal Dunn from Julie Ertz. So I spoke with Julie because, everybody wants to know the inside scoop. And Julie said these things about you, Crystal, that I'm happy that you said about yourself. She always comes to play, to win, to be her best, to support her teammates, to, be positive, to be a change maker, to be the influencer, to be the impact player. Like, she wants to fulfill whatever role needs to happen. And I was like, I think Crystal and I are like soulmates. Like, we're like,
I think so too.
Yeah.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Now, I'm going to say something, and I'm hoping that you're going to go for it. Here's a little bit maybe everybody doesn't know about Crystal. Julie said, Crystal doesn't just come to your door at the hotel and like knock on it. Crystal has something very interesting that she does. She always has a rhythm to something. It's not just a knock on the door. Here, Crystal will come. Give us a knock that you would do at a teammate's door.
I just want people to know that it's me. Anyone can knock on the door. So I always, when I'm trying to link up with somebody in camp, I just give them a little, and everyone who's in that door or that room always goes, it's Crystal. Crystal's at the door. And I go, yes, it is, just making everybody aware. So, I like to have a little fun with the girls. And I'm so grateful for those words that Julie shared with you because, it really is true. I think I'm always trying to look at the glass half full versus half empty. I think, Brandi, this, playing at a high level at all times, it can get hard, you know. There's
Mhm.
training days that don't go your way. You know, if you're competing in a 5v5 tournament in training and your team loses, it's like, whoa, like this is the worst day ever, you know. But then you reset and you show up the next day, and it's all about moving forward versus looking back and thinking, you know, I didn't have a good day yesterday. That's okay, it's in the past. What can you do now? And I do think supporting teammates along the way makes the journey that much greater. You know, it's not all about me. It's not about my success. It's about the team success, so I can also have my individual success along the way.
Do you feel that do you feel that doing that helps to kind of lighten your personal load? Like if you're giving out there, it feels lighter here.
Yes. I think when you play a team sport, you know, you can't always look within. You have to reach out and lend and reach out to other teammates to really help you get through these tough times. You know, if I just sat in a corner and was like, all right, you know, I'm not playing well, I'm not feeling good in my own game, you know, all that negativity is just going to pour all over you. But if you reach out to a player and just you acknowledge, hey, you know, I'm not doing so hot right now. You know, I need a little bit of help. I need a little bit of guidance. I think it just, you know, it builds chemistry, and that's what is so needed on a team if you want to compete and, you know, win World Cups. You know, it's so important.
Excellent. I love that. That's like the secret sauce, right?
Secret sauce.
It's like, it's so awesome. Okay, we're going to talk about something that's, you know, it's tough, right? I've lived it too. You lived the same thing. Both of us didn't make a World Cup team. I didn't make 95. You were not on 2015.
Yeah.
And then we both came back to some great success. Can you tell us about that change, right? Not being on the team, and then what happened to you in the journey between those two things?
Oof, a lot of tears, a lot of crying in a pillow at night. But, you know, once that period was over, I think, you know, I just went back to the basics. I said, you know, bummer, I didn't make this team. I wasn't a part of this great journey, but now I have the opportunity to create my new reality and, you know, accept the situation that I'm now in, and, you know, just get back to work, because I truly believe that, you know, one person's opinion of you as a player or person, whatever it is, should not, you know, define who you are. And I, at that moment, had to, you know, pick myself up, dust myself off, and realize that, you know, okay, this coach didn't think I was ready to be at this level at this time. I'm going to get back to work, prove that I belong on this team, and, you know, do everything and do everything within my control to be at my best when my name gets called again.
Crystal, you know what? My mind just blew over here. I'm in San Jose, California. You're all the way in Florida. We play the same position.
Outside back?
Seriously, left back.
Yeah.
Seriously, we are sisters.
I mean, we're soulmates.
We're sisters.
It was meant to be.
Yeah. Seriously, honestly, and that was not my position. Just like
so
you.
You understand the change that we go through on the field, when we're asked to fill a role that might not be a role that we necessarily want to fill, but the team needs you, you know? And how did you actually take that your first time where a coach was like, we need you to play outside back?
Well, here's my quick story for everybody about change was I had come back to the national team after the 95 World Cup. We came in third in that World Cup. So there was a little bit of fire lit under everybody. And Coach DeChico had us in for 2 camps at the end of 95. And it was my first time back for a while because I wasn't with the team leading up to the World Cup. So I had been absent. So of course I'm nervous. I'm excited. I want to do my best. I want to make the team. So I promised Julie Foudy, I had a conversation with her, I'm going to be the best player I can be for the team. I'm going to show up, like I said earlier, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give it all. So everybody has their exit meeting. As you know, you have a meeting with the coach, and he brings me in, Coach DeChico, April Heinrichs, and he's like, Brandi, you have had great camps. We are so excited about this. And you can feel the energy. I'm building up. I'm feeling so good. Pop, 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 pop. And he says, but not at forward, in the defense. So imagine if you could, like, now all of a sudden time stands still. It probably was like 3 seconds, but it felt like eternity. And in that moment, I got to choose, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I love about change. You get to choose. Do you want to choose? Yes, I'm going to go forward and give it a try. Or no, I'm very happy where I am. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to put my stake in the ground and say, this is where I think I belong.
Yep.
And so in the 3 seconds, I was like, yeah, I will,
Yes.
because I want to be on the team.
Exactly.
And that was really important. And I think from that moment going forward, Tony, what I learned was, and I hope you feel the same way in the change that you've experienced, is somebody had belief in me.
Yes.
And I didn't even know that I was capable of this change. But they said, hey, we want you to go there and we trust that you can do it. And I was like, well, if I can't do well between Carla Overbeck and Christine Lilly, what? I shouldn't be on the team anyway. So that's, for me, I go back to that moment a lot in my life. Like right now, I'm working in tech. I've never done it before. My head has been exploding for about 6 to 9 months. But I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
Right? I'm figuring it out.
Definitely. You got to adapt. You have to embrace. I think that is the first step, if anything, is just really embrace this new opportunity and don't fight it. Don't find the negatives in it. Just really look towards the positives. And, some days it's easier said than done. There's been plenty of days where I'm like coming into camp and I'm like, I just want to play a position that I want to play. And then, you know what? I check back out and I go, but I'm here. I'm going to be the best teammate I can be. I'm going to compete. I'm going to block all these crosses and make sure that we do not get goals scored on us. And I think, it's a split second that you can kind of go down this negative road, but at the end of the day, it's about embracing this new opportunity and really taking full advantage of it.
Yeah. Having scored an own goal in the World Cup quarterfinal, I know that it's only about going forward, because if you worry too much about what happened, you're going to miss the chance in front of you. Exactly. So here's what I also want to say about this change and what you said about, look, I'm going to embrace the fact that my mindset is maybe deep. Remember that in soccer, you're a back, you're a midfielder, you're a forward, and positions can be interchanged. And that's the beauty of all of this. So, Erica, I feel like this is a perfect time to get you into this discussion. I'm all of a sudden not seeing Crystal. I shouldn't say seeing Crystal. Are you seeing Crystal?
I see her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. She's trying to be stealth on me right now, so that's fine. Okay. But I want to, so what you've heard, Erica, I'd like for you to have some interaction with Crystal and talk about the things about what's happening this month and what's happening around us, and the Forbes article that she was in.
I mean, so first of all, it's just an honor. Crystal, you're a beast on the field for sure. But I've also watched kind of like the family story and seen how your parents got you involved in soccer, and how that was an outlook. And first of all, you all just did like this master class on what change is about without even knowing it. Like, I've got all kinds of notes for like what people need to take away from this, but there's so many nuggets in there. I won't repeat them all, but like one of the ones that stands out to me is that for both of you, like you're a soccer player. You're not just a defender. You're not just, like you're a soccer player. So a soccer player goes wherever a soccer player needs to go. A soccer player plays soccer, not a soccer player plays defense, or a soccer player is a striker. Like a soccer player plays just like an artist creates. And, so that's why that idea of like, once they told you, it might've been a second of disappointment. And then it was like, okay, cool. Cause I'm a soccer player. That's really what matters. You got to remember who you are. Right. And I know that's a thing that we're going to get to later. So I want to ask, I mean, the Forbes article, Crystal, was, I mean, very telling about where you are right now and you're thinking about change. And also you being very vocal about like some of the things that you see that you'd like to see change. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about from where you sit, particularly we're Black History Month. I believe Black history is fundamentally American history, and so I know that we're all, here, we're trying to embrace that idea. And yet I imagine that you have a particular perspective or view as a Black player on the team, on the national team. Like, so tell us about like, what would you like to see change just based on that article and what you were trying to share in the Forbes article?
Yeah, Erica, first of all, thank you so much for reading that article. I feel like it was almost like this coming out party for me, because with everything that went on in 2020, the negative moments, but, for me, I took some positives away, and it was really about me reassessing where I am currently and getting myself on track to where I want to be in the future. So I hit the pause button for a split second and kind of went back to the drawing board. And I really felt like 2021 was going to be the year that I can show the world my most authentic self, use my platform, use my voice, and also uplift others around me. I feel like I've always tried to do that, but I think now, especially as, soccer is becoming more diverse over these years, and there's now many more Black women on the national team at this moment. I think I almost feel like I have this responsibility to make sure that they, have what they need and that they're taken care of. Because I know when I was coming on the team, I felt like I didn't have that, So I'm really just trying to give back to those that are coming after me and those that are here on this journey with me currently. So, just going back to the Forbes article, yes, I think what I really wanted to get out of that article and that interview was really to let the world know that for a long time, I think, especially in soccer, Black women have felt like there is not many spaces for them to exist without feeling like they're just there to survive versus there to thrive, So especially speaking in soccer, I feel like it is still a predominantly white sport, but I do think it is changing over time. You're seeing many more people who are interested in playing this sport, and it's usually probably due to the fact that they see more diversity on the elite level, so they feel like they can see themselves in these players. I'm a big believer that representation matters, visibility matters, and I think that is also why I'm so passionate about being the best I can be, is just so I can be on the field. I want young minority girls to really see, a face that looks like mine and say, I want to play soccer. There's someone that looks like me, at this level, enjoying this game, having so much fun. And I think, that article really just touched on how I feel now and what I hope to see change in the future.
Erica, can I ask Crystal something? I feel like this is a tough question for me to ask, and hopefully it's not too tough to answer. But do you feel the standards are different for you?
I think because the game has grown so much now, which I'm so thankful about, I think, being on the women's national team is definitely a huge platform that I've always been grateful and very blessed to be a part of, and I think with visibility comes spotlights. And I do think over time, the spotlight hasn't fallen on me the way I projected it to as often as I thought it would. And I think it is a lot has to do with it with marketing, marketing and branding. And I think because the sport is still a predominantly white sport, I've never felt like I could even push to be a face of women's soccer in the US because my face doesn't maybe fit the box or tick the box that women's soccer kind of is still stuck in right now. So, I think it's changing. Like I said, I'm excited for the new changes. I think you're just going to see more access to the sport, which is ultimately going to help, young kids want to be involved in the sport at the grassroots level, and then also want to, stay with it and hopefully make this a career.
Yeah. I've heard this is, I feel, Erica, like this is full circle, right? Things are coming around, and the good thing is we're going to go around. We're not stopping. We're not getting roadblocked. We'll find a way over, around, through, whatever it is. But I've had this conversation with Tiffany Milgret some 20 years ago. Very same conversation. And, just like pay equity, I think it's something that we cannot stop talking about.
Nope.
We can't let it just fade off into the side of the screen in a way. And so I'm grateful for your persistence in that, because it is important that we make sure that, that these things are understood. It's not just, you also said something, Erica, sorry, I'm jumping into your space, but I heard Crystal say this before about, I don't want to be seen as an athlete. I want to be seen as a complete soccer player.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yes. I think, Black athletes, a lot of the times we get stereotypes before we even step foot on the field. We're told you're fast, you're strong, you're tenacious, all these qualities that unfortunately translates into society as viewing us as threats. There's no wonder, police brutality is such an issue in the US because people see us as aggressive. You know, those are the same traits that unfortunately coaches are teaching young kids at a very young age. Oh, you know, use your aggression, you're tenacious, you're fast. And I think it puts us in a box. It stunts our growth. And throughout my game, I've always tried to combat these stereotypes, because I don't want the young players coming up after me to feel like they are trapped and they can only do, you know, 1-2 things, and they can't develop into a well-rounded player. So, you know, I've definitely challenged commentators on, you know, how they describe players. I challenge, you know, coaches, especially coaching very young kids, because we all know young kids have the mind of a sponge. Everything that they hear, they're going to soak up. And if a young child is being told, you're only fast, you're only, you know, use all that, they're going to think that that's all that they are, and that's stunning their growth. So for me, I would just love for everybody to be a part of the change, because it doesn't fall on one person or one job. It falls on everybody being aware, being more educated, and wanting to engage in more conversations.
Yeah.
So as much as this is a platform for everybody to talk, honestly, I feel like I'm getting educated right here, because what if I admire those qualities of you, Crystal? How do I handle those? How do I handle that then? Because, you know, I would say for the player who doesn't possess your talent, they would love that. So how do we reconcile that with the big picture image that you've so eloquently painted for us?
Yeah, that is such a great question, because of course, I think I posted something, you know, last year at some point, and of course the comments were, well, can I never say a player's fast ever again? Can I never say, you know, and I was like, okay, we're looking at the small part. The bigger picture is, if you see, you know, a Black athlete who has used their pace to get around a defender and then cross the ball, whatever play is developing, by all means, yes, if they're using their pace, they're using their athleticism, you can comment on that. But I think too many times that is just such a default, you know, way to kind of describe a play. And instead of saying, you know, this player used actually their knowledge of the game, they were shifty, they were crafty, they were technical. I think those are traits that don't get placed on Black athletes, even if they are constantly proving that they are technical, they are crafty, they have the cognitive abilities to break down plays.
Because I think what it is like athletic, and you can be all of the fast and all of the things, but that's not all you are. And I think like it's just like broadening this perspective of like, I am all of the things. I'm not just the thing. So yes, call me out. Like when I'm fast, I'm fast. I'm fast like a gazelle, but I'm also smart as hell, right? And so don't just assume that I'm just better because I'm faster. And this is a long, age-old like argument and conversation, you know, with race relations in our country, you know, for sure. But I love that you're pressing people to kind of think about like, how do you expand the view of all athletes, right? And the same could be said about women versus men, like, you know, like that's segment in a lot of different ways, not just racially. There's a question that I wanted to ask, and I think this is for both of you. It's in the chat. This is from Michelle Proctor. She said, what would you say to white people who want to be allies of people of color on and off the field in terms of next steps, kind of to push at the isms, and she says racism. You know, what would you say to people in that way?
No, you go.
And then different perspectives, right? What Crystal says and what Brandi says are going to be different, right? And I guess maybe that's why it's a question for both of you.
Yeah, so honestly, it's such a great question. Me and a couple of players in the NWSL actually started a group. We're called Black Women's Player Collective, and it's a support group to really just have players reach out to us if they need anything, because, you know, we're still in a phase where there may be 1 or 2 players on each NWSL team. You know, with events that occurred last year, some players felt like they had nowhere to go, no one to really talk to and share experiences with about the current events, you know. And in our group, we're now developed into a nonprofit, so we're really like progressing. We're like, yay, we're doing it, guys. But our main question was, do we include white women who also want to help in the fight?
Yes, that's my question.
And we said, of course. Yes. We play in a sport where we are predominantly white, and therefore I would love to have the white teammates that I know support me and want to be a part of the change come along for the ride and, you know, be there to support us. And obviously it is tricky because I do think a lot of white women, or white people, I should say in general, don't want to overstep. I think people feel like this is the year of Black women. We want to elevate the Black voice. And I think speaking with some of my teammates who are white, understand that their support means so much. We need everyone in order to really combat the issues that we're facing. It cannot be a Black community thing. It can't be, oh, you're Black, that has nothing to do with me because I'm white. No, we have to change that. And we have to get more allies involved. And we have to get people who are going to be as outraged at the events last year, regardless if they were Black or not.
Well, Erica and I have spoken multiple times leading up to tonight, and really mostly because I've enjoyed these conversations. So I keep saying, oh no, we have to have another meeting. But she said something, Erica, you said something to me that I thought was very grounding in for that question, which is, we are bound by our humanity. How we look doesn't change what's on the inside. So for me, I'm grateful for the invitation to your group, Crystal, and I feel like that is probably for me the most precarious moment of my advocacy for you and others who feel either marginalized or off to the side. Like I feel like I needed that. I mean, I didn't feel I needed it like because I always felt like I was in, but I didn't want to unwittingly take the step at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as advocates, that can be difficult.
Yeah, no, I understand completely what you're saying. I know, and I think it takes communication. It takes understanding as well of, how can we best move forward? And I am excited because I think for the first time I felt in my, time being alive that Black women are being seen,
mm-hmm.
And we're being seen because white people are understanding that we need to be pushed, we need to be pushed ahead. We need to be heard. And sometimes that means people need to just listen. When I speak to a lot of my white teammates, a lot of it is, hey, I'm speaking, I want to voice how I feel. And a lot of it is, I just need you to listen. I don't need you to help me solve the problem at this very moment, but I just need you to hear all the problems so we can then get to work and figure out the best way moving forward. So, a lot of it is just communication. And there have been some great conversations I've been a part of, this one right here as well. And it can't stop. 2020, I would hope that people weren't just trying to be a part of the trend, that they're actually going to be a part of the change. Because it's easy to post something once and disappear for the whole year. But it's about those that are following up with what they were talking about and connecting with certain organizations that, align with the initiatives that they want to get involved in.
Mm-hmm. I love Crystal, I love that you say, the idea sometimes it's just about listening, because first you just need to be heard, like hear a different perspective, right? That someone may have something different because they have a different viewpoint, and that is valued. And once we see that, that's when we can figure out how we move together. I think the other thing is, is as you're listening, allow the people who are saying, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, allow them to come up with potential solutions that are going to work. And trust that they actually know what is going to work, right? So I think so many times, like we get into these spaces where, the voices of those who maybe have, power, control, or whatever, they think that they know, they're empathetic, but they think that they know what the solution is for, maybe a group that feels marginalized in some way. And sometimes it's about, not only do you need to listen, but you might also need to take a step back. And there's a shift in power. And I think that's what makes this conversation difficult, is because the shift in power is what makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes you don't even recognize that you have power or privilege. Then you realize it. And at some point you need to maybe pass that along and say, you know what, I'm going to give the power to you. And that's why our conversations, Brandi, have been so cool, because we came in as equals in this conversation. Like, yes, I was standing at first, like, oh my God, this is Brandi. I watched it. I know who she is, right? But you very quickly leveled the field by saying, hey, Erica, you've got an expertise here. I've got an expertise here. How are we going to collectively move forward? And you allowed me to insert my expertise in this conversation, right? I think that's how it has to happen, you know, in the game, right? And that's how it has to happen in terms of broader social justice work as well, is let the people who are representing the marginalization, let them come up with solutions that they know are going to work and trust that they actually do know. Give them the power. And actually, this is a little bit of a shout out to the Surge Institute, which I know is one of our sponsors, because that's what they're doing. They're elevating in the same way that you're doing that with your group, Crystal. They're elevating the voices of African-American, Latino, Asian Americans to allow them to be the voice at the table around education. And just saying, if this is a group that is marginalized, let the representation be from that community and let them lead the change, or what they call lead the surge. So I just think that that's part of the thing that anyone can do if you're trying to be an ally.
Awesome.
This conversation is so, I mean, it's like my cup is getting more and more full every sentence. Now, Crystal, I want to be mindful. I know that you have, you know, time is precious, but I would love it, Erica, if we could, I think it's kind of a perfect transition because we're talking about, you know, this change. Mm-hmm. Can we do that first exercise we were talking about because Crystal's here?
Yeah. Crystal, how much time do you have? Because I want to make sure that we're honoring.
Probably like 5
Okay,
minutes.
we have like 5 minutes. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We want, as we think about change, one of the things that we talked about in our preparation was this idea that change has how you adjust to it really has a lot to do with you looking inward. So we said, like, I'm a soccer player. So when change comes, I'm looking to, well, who am I? So I can ground my adaptation in who I am. So what we wanted people to do is take a moment to think about what's an inanimate object, like not a picture necessarily of somebody, but an object that explains something about who you are, because it's going to be that thing that's going to help you navigate through change. So before you go, Crystal, like if you could grip that object, I don't know if it's somewhere close to you right now, but if you don't have it, if you could use an object to describe like who Crystal is, what would that object be? And the rest of you be thinking about what your object is. How about that?
Do I share now?
Yeah,
I kind of
share it, and you won't be able to hear everybody else, but you'll watch the recording and hear what we come.
Yes, y'all have to fill me in. I think for me, I am typically the team DJ on a lot of my teams, and nobody wants the job. That's really how it fell on me. I wish, we went through this whole extensive, who's going to do it? Oh, Crystal's the best one to do it, but no, nobody wanted it.
Well, you are the best.
Well, I'm the best,
yeah, right.
Clearly, right? But honestly, it does bring me joy because it is the moment where, it's game day, we're in the locker room, and, me creating a playlist that really gets everyone in a good mood and ready for the game. And it just brings me joy because it's something as subtle as playing a song, but it can really make everyone connect and stop what they're thinking about, all the nerves, and just kind of come together and like dance, kind of acknowledge the song or whatever it is. And so I guess like my object would be a boombox. I mean,
sweet. Like the big one? Is it the big one from like?
Yeah, I think it should be. No, I wish it were. I mean, people don't know about that boombox.
Oh, I do.
I just think music just brings people together, and I love it.
All right, a boombox. I love that. You're not afraid to turn up the volume.
No.
You're going to share with everybody.
Yep.
Erica, I'm trying to pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
No,
but this is what
That's exactly right. You're going to
It's true. If I feel like the locker room is tense and everyone's like, oh, we got a game, and everyone's stuck in their head, I'm just like, crank that up. Let's get together. Let's kind of recalibrate and get on the same page.
Well, and that's what Julie Ertz also said, that Crystal just has the most amount of rhythm. It's like rhythm just is pouring out of, it's exuding from every pore in your body, she said. She was like, I just want to dance like Crystal, is what she said.
I mean, my mom must have had music playing while, throughout the pregnancy, because I stepped into the world ready for music.
It's in your bones. So. I love it.
Awesome. That is excellent.
Well, I am so happy to have been here and just to engage in this conversation. It's so important. Honestly, I love the sport of soccer because that is how we're all connected. So it's just, it's really incredible. I believe, sports is a microcosm of society. And I think that is why I love soccer. I love being on you know, on a team, to really have these conversations, you know, as uncomfortable as they kind of can seem at first. I feel like that is how you truly get to know your teammates and those around you, is if you're able to actually have these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, our gratitude is so deep. It's just, we're fans.
Yeah.
We're grateful. We are so happy that we are sisters in this game and in the world, the greater world. And so, you know, we all, and I'm speaking on behalf of all women in soccer, everybody that's here in tonight's chat, that we are just pleased. We are pleased by your willingness to show up, Crystal. And we will, I think, as a leader in what's happening, you know, it will be easy to follow. It will be easy to follow.
You make us proud, Crystal. That's
yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We're gonna keep these. Thank you. We're gonna keep these conversations going, and you know, you'll see me around real soon again.
Hey,
but everyone stay safe.
Good luck in the She Believes Cup. I'm taking my senior A, Crystal, so I am evaluating you. So if you want any of my evaluation notes, you can call me.
Okay, I'll make sure I play extra well so that you could say only great things about.
No. It's not. No, I want to watch you and say, okay, I know why Crystal made that decision, and I know why she made that decision, and this is what she was doing. And she is fast, but that's not just it.
Thank you so much, Brandi. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you all soon. Stay safe, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye. Well, that was fantastic. Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable. All right. So much fun.
So I'm wondering, Brandi, there's so many lessons in what we just heard. Like, I'm serious when I say this is a full masterclass. So I hope the people who get the recording and listen, like, take some notes, folks, because we are in a time right now where change is like critical. Like, we're all experiencing it on a regular, everyday basis. The whole world is upside down right now in terms of what we knew even about a year ago. And so if there is a time to really revision like what change means and how we adapt to it, like, this is create the sense of urgency around that, and the very relevance and current, you know, nature of that. This isn't just kind of like, hey, down the road, some change is coming. Change is happening right now, and we are in the middle of it for sure. There's no question. Like, how would you contextualize, Brandi, in your life as we shift a little bit? What has change looked like for you, like, lately, like in the middle of all the things that are happening in the world?
Well, I said it earlier about just me changing gears, and I'm still in soccer, obviously, because that's my love and my desire is to stay in the game and to be the best coach and advocate for players and positive soccer and everything soccer. Women in soccer, to me, is like, I feel like we are the next group of great innovators, change makers, progress pushers. So I'm thrilled about that. But I have taken on a new job at City Cheers, and I'm in the tech space as someone who is in sales. Like, I've been selling soccer for 4.5 decades. And now I'm working in this space in restaurants and bars and hospitality. But I guess, you know, the nice thing is, Erica, I have bridged the gap between the two, because I believe soccer is about hospitality when we go to the stadium, right? Our responsibility is to be our best and to excite and energize and give the fans what they deserve when they come to the stadium.
Yeah.
That makes them want to come back.
And return, just like they would at a hotel or, you know, whatever, a resort or something like that. I like that's really awesome. So I wonder if I love how what you just, to me, delve into is this reality that, like, you know, there's a common thread through change, right? That if we can grab onto it, no matter where we are, that's where we are, right? And so I'm wondering, though, for everyone who's listening, if put in the chat, like, what does change mean to you? Like, change is, you know, we'll talk about a little bit how it makes you feel, But what is change? Like if somebody, I want to see, this is my teacher like moment, right? I'm curious to know how people define it. I see opportunity, uncomfortable, but worth it. I'm just reading things in the chat.
Erica, can we call some people into this space and they can share with us?
I love it. Positive destruction. I hear you, Sarah. Okay, let's see. Who can we call in? Let's see. For me, it's differing from the norm. Who is that? Danielle Acton? Can we call Danielle up? I love this. Let's see. It's Danielle. How do we know if she's unmuted?
Rachel will help us.
Okay. All right.
There we go. Yeah.
Danielle.
Hello, Danielle. Welcome to the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing in the chat. Now we are putting you on the spot.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wrote that, for me, change is differing from the norm. It is always going to be separated from what the norm generally is and what has always been occurring. So you always want change to move from that binary or from that just standard and continue on through a different path.
Yeah, I love that. Danielle, do you see change as like a positive? Like, how does change kind of make you feel when you experience it?
For me, change kind of, honestly, I've been going back and forth with change my entire life because sometimes, it's not always been, the easiest to go through, but you do always learn from it. So it's kind of, I see it as a positive thing because when you always get away from that norm or that usual idea, you're always going to go into a positive space. You can never go backwards.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that positivity is one of the things that kind of would define who you are as a person, Danielle?
Yeah.
I'm hearing an optimism. I don't know if you're hearing that, but I'm hearing of, change is a positive thing, and change like can move you to a better place and that kind of thing. Is that how you typically approach life, Danielle?
Yeah, it is. For me, I'm a problem solver, so I'm always looking forward to solving something.
Mm-hmm.
It in a sort of way. So for me, change is with that positivity. I'm like, I can always fix this. I can always do to make this better than it is right now.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Brandi, do you have any questions for Danielle? You've been a great guest. Thank you.
Yeah, Danielle, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on unexpectedly. So there was a little change.
Yeah,
how about that? Something that popped into my head when Danielle was talking was, I think there's different types of change. Mm-hmm. Change that we bring on ourselves and change that happens around us that's not in our control, but then we have to grapple with, how will I embrace that change that's happened around me? So do you have any wisdom, Erica, that you could give in those two scenarios?
I love how you contextualize that, right? Because sometimes change is something that we cause, right? Like we kind of catalyze the change, so to speak. Sometimes change does happen to us. I find that when change happens to us and we lose that sense of control, it's the not knowing that really creates almost sometimes the anxiety and the fear. It can also create adrenaline, right? Depending on what it is. But it's often like, I know what I know. I don't know what I don't know. And it's the I don't know that makes me nervous, right? Like, especially for those of us, I don't know if you would consider yourself Brandi type A, but like the person, is that you, not you? Do you feel seen right now? Like,
don't give away all my secrets.
You and I are in the same boat. I told you we were kindred spirits. But it's that, right? It's like, I know what I know. And when I don't know something and I don't feel like I'm in control, that loss of like, I'm in the driver's seat can make us really feel fearful and anxious. I think it's in those moments where we really have to hold into maybe a couple of things. But one is like, who am I? Like in this moment, I've got to make a choice. I have to figure out like, who am I? So that when change comes, and either whether it's something that I initiate or something that is kind of thrust upon me and out of my control, my navigation through it really depends on what foundation I stand on. So I'm going to depend on that. And that, I think for me, fundamentally is where change really starts, and where it moves from obstacle to opportunity, right? It moves from a problem to possibility. And so that is a mindset shift, right? Which is what you and Crystal, I think, were talking about, as change was coming in many different ways. It's the mindset shift that's going to help you move through the change and do what I would call, Brandi, we talk a lot about post-traumatic stress, right? Moving through change. And with all the things happening in the world, there's a lot of that right now. But I like to think of post-traumatic growth, which is when I move through the change, which might be challenging, which might stress me, which might be uncomfortable. I'm going to be better. Right? I'm going to be better for it. And the only way that I can do that, if I get real grounded in who I am. And once I connect with that, that's the thing that's going to be my anchor. That's my core. And so I'm going to ride that till the wheels fall off, right? Because that's who I am. If I'm a fighter, or I'll give you an example, and then I want to ask you for an example of like when you had to dig in deep. Last year, December 19th, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Wasn't expecting it. Like, you couldn't have told me that that's where nobody doesn't run in my family, none of that good stuff, right? Right before I got that call, I remember telling my really good friend Jessica at breakfast, I'm a believer and believers believe. That was the quote. I can see myself saying it. It's an out-of-body experience when I even think about it, because I remember saying that, and I was like, whatever they call me with, like, that's what I got to stand on. So when I got that call, I had to force myself to remind myself, like, who did you just say you were? Because belief is an action word. It's not something that you can just say. It's something you have to dig into deep. So I've got to believe that on the other side of this is a chapter of the book. This is not the end of the book. And that's how I operate, right? So I'm going to show you mine. This is my object. Can you see that?
Okay.
It's a cup, and it says all things are possible to those who believe. But that is who Erica is, right? And I try to keep that close to remind me that when change comes, that's how we adjust.
Well, it's interesting. I spoke with your good friend.
Oh boy.
Kate
Did she behave, Brandi?
Oh, Kate was great. Kate was amazing, actually. We had a really nice conversation. She actually was delightful in that it was like we were friends right away.
Yeah.
Right? And she was just saying, belief has to come from somewhere. And this is where I feel like, again, we are kindred spirits, because I had tremendous parents. Yeah. Kate let me know that, your parents were also so phenomenal, or are phenomenal. And that belief has been given to you in examples by the people around you. And so you didn't have it. Sorry, even though you think you might have chosen belief, it chose you.
No, yeah, it was a setup, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a setup. And, Kate just told me about Liam and Corey, and those are your two sons, that, yours and Kate's sons, and how they take this warmed my heart. Honestly, I'm a parent, and I'm a total sap, everybody. Okay, fine. I'm putting it out there. Everybody's gonna know that Brandi cries at commercials. And I got this from my grandfather, who was my dearest friend. He would literally, you guys don't even know Kodak anymore, because nobody prints pictures, but they would have these commercials that were like Kodak moments. And this is a Kodak moment that Kate gave me today about your son and her son, that at school you take your school picture, but you also had an opportunity to take your sibling picture. Now, Liam and Corey are like you and I.
Yes, one looks like me and Liam looks like you. Yeah.
And when the photographer would say, okay, it's time for sibling pictures, they would be like, we have to we're brothers. We're taking pictures. And so they believed that they were the same.
They did.
And I just thought that story was just
And they
Awesome.
still do. They still see themselves as brothers. And I see
Yeah.
ourselves as sisters. And what I love though, Brandi, is that we acknowledge the differences, but that doesn't make different is not bad, right? Difference is just reality. Difference is, you know, we bring different perspectives and that's valued. But yeah, they definitely, I wish I had the picture because it's super cute of them, you know, what we call brothers from another mother and brothers of another color. Like, and they're lovely, and Kate is lovely, and I'm glad she shared that with you.
No, that was so sweet for me to hear. As a mother of two sons, that also is endearing, right? That's a very that's like a sensitive moment, right? They look at each other in this loving, accepting way that I just think is spectacular. Now you're going to ask me for
I
my
am going to
thing.
ask you for your thing. What is the thing that describes who Brandi is?
Well, I'm gonna do a little bit of a maneuver around that question right now, because I would love for you to ask everybody, and then I can get mine and we can all come back with it.
All right. I
that?
love it. So let me just remind you of what we're doing. So in the same way that Crystal gave us and said, like, if I had an object, it'd be the boombox, and you all saw my belief cup over here. What is the thing? And we're using like an inanimate object, right? Like that you in and of itself is just a candle, or in and of itself is just a pencil. But what is it about that thing that brings out something for you that's a characteristic of who you are? And how can you use that to describe yourself to someone, and think about it in terms of like, what's that essence of me, right? The essence of who I am, of who I was created to be. Because again, the point being, that's the thing that you're going to draw on when change happens. The who am I at my core. So as people, we want you all to get up and go find an object while you're listening. Turn your volume up so you can hear while we're going, because Brandi's going to share her thing. But we want to give you a couple of minutes because you're going to actually share your thing with somebody. Well, that was fun.
Oh my gosh.
That was great. I love to see what people bring to the table, literally. That was really interesting. What did you see that was really cool? We're going to bring some people up to kind of share.
I would like to bring a couple people up. I hope you would like to bring someone up too.
Honora's on deck, so you go first.
Okay. Honora's going to go?
Yeah, she's going to go. You want to have her go first?
Yeah.
Honora, where are you?
Yeah.
I know that she would be great for this. Honora, where are you?
Rachel is a magician. She'll all of a sudden make Honora appear.
I need a Rachel in my personal life.
There she is.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. So I had two items. I had my passport because I'm an immigrant and I achieved US citizenship a couple years ago, which was really important to me. And then I also have my little planner. It says hustle. So I remember to hustle every single day, and I remember everything that I have to do every day.
Yeah. And what I loved about Honora's story, so she showed us the objects and we were like, yep, absolutely. But then she went really quickly into like asking questions and trying to figure out kind of how to network and put things together. And she had a question for me about like, what would be your advice? Like you could see the hustle. It wasn't just her talking about it. It was the integrity of like what I say and what I bring to the table and then what I do was absolutely there. So I love it. You're well on your way, my friend. And she's looking for work in women's soccer. And tell them what you're looking for since that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, so I'm a current third-year junior at Wayne State University, and I'm studying marketing and management information systems. So anything really in marketing or IT. My professional background is in IT. I'm an intern with my university, but I have a lot of student organization experience with marketing and social media and creation of digital content. So either or a combination of both would be amazing.
Yeah. Don't you love how she was like ready for the moment? Like I just like most people, I have to say, most people can't pull that out. Like you give them the platform to say what you want, and they're not ready. So you were ready when change came, my friend. I applaud you. Whatever you're looking for, you're gonna get.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honora.
I appreciate
That's awesome. You know, I'm going to connect Honora's personality to what I say to my players on the soccer field. Be ready. for goal scoring, especially, right? When I watch a match and I see a cross come and the ball goes through the box and the attackers look around like, hey, what happened? I'm like, you weren't ready. You were not ready. Honora, thank you for showing up to the box and being ready. I love it. That's awesome. Rachel, my magician, could you please bring Olivia Mendez? If Olivia.
Like I need a drum roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully Olivia will be hopping on here. Yeah.
Oh, you said drum roll. Okay, she's coming. Corey said my object was Title IX related. I'm curious to know what that was.
Yeah. Type it in the chat, Corey.
Yeah, tell us what that is. I love it. All right, is Olivia still here?
Well, there we go.
There she is.
All right,
Can you all
Olivia.
see me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, give us your object and your story.
So my object, I don't have it with me in the room, which I'm sorry, it would have been way cooler if I had it with me. But anyway, I'm a law student and I have this book stand that I use to put my books on so that my neck is supported when I read. But since we were talking about change today, I thought it would kind of be a good way to represent how I really appreciate and lean on my support systems that I have in my life when I go through change or have anxiety about change or really anything. So I think that my book stand, it physically supports me in, reading comfortably, but I think it could represent more than that.
That is awesome.
Oh, that's poetic. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
My older son was a law school student as well, and I can, from a voyeur's perspective, say, yes, there's a lot of support that needs to be given in those kind of environments for, the students, because it's a heavy load, right? It's a heavy load. And what I read into this, Erica, and maybe I'm really stepping outside of my pay grade here, is for everybody on this event here tonight, Brandi's Corner, if you can be somebody's book stand, right? There's always going to be an opportunity to be somebody's book stand. And I mentioned it earlier tonight when we were talking with Crystal. I scored an own goal in the World Cup. And as the ball just slowly crossed the line and we got there just a moment too late, everything that could have happened in that moment would have been negative, right? What are some of the things that could have come through my head? I don't deserve to be here. I'm not good enough. I've lost it. The future of women's soccer is now down the drain. Negative, right? But Carla came over to me, and just like Crystal did her, right? She did her rhythm on Julie's door. Carla clapped, and I was like, oh, that's Carla. I looked up, she goes, don't worry about it. We got a lot of game left. We're going to win this game, and you are going to be a part of the reason. And so like your book stand, Olivia, it helps you get through your classes. It supports you in, getting through the reading you need to do. Carla was my book stand. And going forward from that moment, I didn't think about the fact that I had scored a goal. I was just looking forward. So I want to tell, and this is the reason why I want Olivia to come on, is I was thinking we all need to be people's book stands. Yeah. So thank you, Olivia. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's so awesome. It's such a powerful statement right now in this moment that we are in historically, right? Where, we're in a place where like the divisions are deep, particularly politically, but socially also. And I think, to come back to that comment that you made, Brandi, about, that quote, which, full disclosure came from my business partner, Brenda, about what we're bound by our humanity. And part of our need in humanity is that we all need somebody, right? We're not out here alone. We can't do it alone. That's not possible. So we need a book stand, and then we need to return the favor, pay it forward, be an ally, and be a book stand for someone. So that's a really powerful analogy for what it is I know you all are trying to build with women in soccer. And when I look at people like Honora and look people like Olivia, I'm like, it's happening. Like, Yeah.
Can we call Corey to the stage, please? Because she put in the chat what she had, and this is a very symbolic item. No worries.
And right, technology sometimes works. Some that you gotta. It's changed.
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah,
it's changed. Right? I also, like Honora, I have so many things on my desk, and I'm not turning my camera around so you guys can see the tragic mess that I have over here. But sometimes chaos is my comfort. I see a couple things, and we've had a couple funny laughs. I had a selfie stick, which I hate selfies, but I thought this would be my son's item because he loves taking pictures of his face, and they send it to each other all the time. But I was getting something out of the closet that is the jacket that my dad used to wear. This was his. And it has all the patches, because back in the day we used to collect patches from all the tournaments we would go to. We have one from 1979, 1981, 1979, 1980. These are things that we did, and this jacket represents to me the inclusiveness that my dad brought to the soccer field. He was a former Marine, and teams and family were very important to him. And I just feel like I always wanted more people involved. The more the merrier, bring them all in here. And so when change is happening, I feel like I have to go to where people are instead of being isolated. And, people make me feel good, and I count on people all the time. And so that is my collective item that really makes me know I'm okay. There's a people around who either support me, love me, will tell me the truth, all of them. I love all of them. And the other one is, when I was getting this jacket, Erica, this dawned on me. This is an item that I never would have picked, but it was like a beacon in my closet, and I was like, oh, I have to bring it out. Do you know what this is? Yes.
Tell me more. Why?
Number one, I am in love with the Ticonderoga pencil.
Number 2 pencil for the standardized test. That's your thing.
Not for the test taking. Not for the test taking. I mean, maybe if I was good in whatever, if I was finding myself successful.
They do write really well. I've got a box of them. I got that.
I love to write. I love how you can make pencils dark. I love how you can shadow. But why I brought this out was because you use your pencil and you're going at it, and it's wearing down. It's wearing down. And then you need to refresh. And right here, I get to sharpen my pencil. And I think about change like I need better. I need to find a new perspective. This pencil sharpener allows me to do that.
Brandi, I have to say, yep. Adrian said, mind blown with the pencil sharpener analogy. Like that was a good one. Like I've heard a lot, but that was
all right.
And it's amazing how people can make those analogies, like use anything, and that's why it's like an inanimate object where all by itself you don't know what it was, but. I got you on that. I follow.
Yeah. So if you ever want to make me really happy, a bouquet of pencils is not going to let me down.
I'm sending them via Amazon. I'm telling
you. Yeah, and then I can do the second thing, which I love to do with pencils, which is write letters and notes and send them
in pencil. Okay. I love it. So are you into stationery too? Like, does it matter what you write it on, or is it just like the pencil?
I do like a fancy stationery.
Okay.
But I'm kind of I'm not an artist, but I so desperately wish I was. And maybe the soccer field is my canvas.
I love that. There's a story under this handwritten letter thing. I want to know eventually what that means, but that's
who knows.
Cool.
Who knows?
Yeah.
All right.
It's a lost art too. I have to say that if for anybody looking for another piece of small advice around career, never forget to write the thank you, and a handwritten note will stand out more than your email. So take that to wherever.
There you go.
It's a good one.
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome.
Good, good. So did we ever get Corey up? It looks like we're not going to have her. Shoot. Corey, you'll have to tell us in the chat if you're still there what that.
She says here in the chat says, I will put my item and write about this event in my next newsletter, awesomesports.substack.com.
Okay.
So
all right.
Everybody, now it's a mystery. Oh, wait, there she is. Hey.
Hi, Brandi. Hi, Erica.
Corey.
Thank you for everything. This is going so well. Here's my item.
Oh, man.
And the woman who gave this to me, her nickname is the godmother of Title IX, Bernie Sandler. She helped draft the Title IX legislation along with Congresswomen Patsy Mink and Edith Green in the Education Amendments of 1972. And I got to interview her about 10 years ago, and she sent me that button. And I'm a U.S. history professor, and I teach U.S. history focus on sports. And my dissertation is on Title IX. And I was so lucky to get to interview her. And, I played volleyball in college. And, I think many of us who played any kind of sport, we're here because of Title IX. So,
no doubt.
So that is my item. I'm so thrilled that everybody got to see it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And you know what, Corey, I am a firm believer that we need to know what our history is so that we can either use it for the good that it did and continues to do, and that's Title IX. We cannot let our present day players forget the shoulders in which they stand on. And also we need to know history so we can know what we need to avoid and what we can say this did not work. And that also is as relevant and important as knowing what does.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much for letting me highlight my item.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing it.
I'm so glad we got you on there. I like to think one of my superpowers, Brandi, is the looking backwards to figure out where we're going. So the history thing, I think, is really huge. We came tonight on February around Black history for that same reason, right? Is to really recognize, the importance of all of the contributions of all Americans, right? And we do that specifically around Black history this month. But I think your point, looking back to know what we should and shouldn't do moving forward and learning from that, I think is huge.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Good stuff.
Whoa, this is so great. I began talking, I threw out change, like, I think it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when we had our last meeting, our first meeting at Brandi's Corner. We were talking about, discussing who we are and how we communicate. With Becky Burley, we did a DISC assessment and find out where you lie on the DISC chart. And I was a D and dominant and sometimes an I, influence. And I kind of hover between those two things. And what Becky gave me that night was see who you are so that when you look at somebody else to have a conversation with them, look at them and realize where they are. Yeah. And now our conversation can be probably more robust. It can be more thoughtful. It can be probably more connecting. And I hope for all the veterans out there that are here tonight at Brandi's Corner, you've been using your DISC assessment for good, and or that you've actually recognized that, yes, this is who I am. And that goes to what you were talking about earlier, Erica. And maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into that about who, how do I recognize that, or how do I use that in face of change?
Yeah. And I think we had some really good examples of that, right? Which were, like what do I do? We talked about, Olivia talked about how the stand, right? I lean into my people when I need to. And I talked about the cup and how it was that sense of belief that kind of guides what it is that I do in moments of change. It's critical that that's where we lean, right? That's where we go, because that's what we know. And it's also some of it is instinctual, but I also think that we've got to do it with intention, right? So you can't just say, I'm a believer and I believe, then I have to actually do it, right? I have to actually lean in and be really intentional about that. And I'm wondering if people could put in the chat like what they're thinking, and maybe we can pull some people up to the stage. How do you use the characteristic that you just described, right, with your object? How do you use that characteristic, not the object itself, but the characteristic that you described with your object? How do you use that in a time of change? What pushes you? What motivates you to kind of navigate through the change space so that hopefully you're better for it, you've learned some things on the other through it, and you can make it through those difficult times when change is hard? I'm wondering if anybody has any insights that they might be able to share.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Rachel, could we go to the tables
and
talk
about it
and come on back?
Okay, that's good. Small group, right? Great.
Oh, what a great conversation I just had with 4 really fabulous people, Victoria, Sean, Olivia, and Monica. Snaps out to you all. Big claps for sharing and for being so all different and so like amazing. First, I want to tell you that when I got to their group, I was like, okay, so who wants to answer what the question was? And then Victoria accidentally opened her mouth, and then Monica goes, oh, Victoria, then you go ahead. You know, and then she was like, okay, well, what was the question? And we all decided we didn't know what the question was. So then we talked about, you know, knowing who you are. And then they gave me examples of their item that they select. Influence who they are and how they deal with change. And they all had 4 different awesome things. I loved, so Sean was water, because water adapts to if it's square, if it's round, you can freeze it. It's constantly in a state of change. Mm-hmm. But he then, I said, okay, well then, you know, what kind of water are you like? And he said, well, I'm probably a slow flowing water. Like I don't make decisions very rapidly. I like to look at things. So my water current is kind of
slow and
moderate. And I thought that was really, that was awesome. Yes. Monica, as insightful, her thing was mac and cheese, which now you're going to be like, Brandi, what are you talking about? She said, listen, at its core, it is always pasta. Mm. And then we talked about, well, you can put different things in it. She said, well, tonight or last night, I put chicken in it. So but in its essence, it will still be pasta.
Wow.
You can go out for fancy mac and cheese. You can have it out of the box at home. Spirals, she said, but it's still pasta.
Wow.
And so you have this foundation, but you can fancy it up or you can make it, it's, you know, I thought that was fun. Olivia it still is in the fencing world, but was a fencer. And she talked about, you know, you have to have a plan. In fencing, you have to have a plan. But then the plan could change. Then what do? You have to be adaptable. And then I said, well, Olivia, I have a question, because you said that she said something about you when you go to the strip, you have a plan. So fencing has this 14 meters long by, I can't remember how wide. Sorry, Olivia. And you have a plan, but there's no room. It will always be that space. Mm-hmm. And then she said something that I thought was really super profound, is that when change comes, you have to confront it head on. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very apropos for fencing, because you can't turn your back in fencing. You have to go forward. You're there. Yeah. You're facing the challenger. So I thought that was really, really cool. And then Victoria, you know, she got put on the spot. She was like, oh, this is generic what I'm saying. But I thought what she was saying is that in change, and to know ourselves, like, sometimes you will be reactive and sometimes you will be proactive. Mm-hmm. And both of those things, I think, are necessary. And so I thought you have to be open to change. Yeah. And that's what she was saying. And I thought that was also really, really great for our conversation.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, and you're also a very good listener, because you captured all of that, and in a very...
No. This is my listening device.
You have to write it. I got it.
I wrote it down.
But you captured it. You listening, you processed, you wrote it down. That's great. And I love that. I mean, the analogies I think are really, I mean, I wonder if you all can, I hear people writing in the chat like, oh, that was good. Like, I like the analogy. I like the metaphor. This is why, I like to use this tactic, because it pulls you out, or what we call like the unfolding of you, right? If I were just to say, tell me who you are, Brandi, that's a harder question to ask. But to say to somebody, find something that describes who you are, right? And then talk about how that characteristic comes out in you. There's a different level of depth and understanding and brilliance that clearly comes out. Like, who would have thought mac and cheese? Like, and then to use it to say it's always pasta. You can mix it up. It's cheesy, it's creamy, it's whatever else, but it's still the same kind of. I mean, like, that says a lot to me about who that person is. And I just appreciate the brilliance that comes out when you ask these questions.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really good. So I was at the same table, and Honora was explaining like that, how she leans into her, her village when change comes, right? And that's part of her hustle, right? Which is, her pink notebook, which is what she brought. Part of her hustle is like, I don't have to always have the answer. And that was one of the things that we talked about, which is having the humility to be able to say, I don't always know, but I can figure it out, or I can find out who does know, and I'm going to bring in different voices to listen to how I get the answer, or get, to navigate this space. I think that was a really important lesson. And I just love her spirit. Frankly, she is, as Pep would say, she is like exactly who Women in Soccer is trying to find in this space. So you all are hitting your audience. That's for sure. That's what we're learning.
Well, I think Women in Soccer is a population of givers first and foremost. And in soccer, you have to be a giver. This is something that my grandfather. This is the greatest gift and bit of advice. When I was younger, he would give me $1 when I scored a goal. But he would give me $1.50 when I had an assist. And I just remember that, and I use it all the time. And I mean, gift giving is like my favorite thing. I look forward to giving somebody an unexpected something that really speaks to them at a time when they're not expecting it most of the time. I love that. Like, if I see something, I'm like, I'm getting it. Like, this belongs to that person.
It's the love language, Brandi, the gift giving, like you like to give.
I love it. I love it.
Great lesson, by the way. Like, I don't want to look over like your grandfather's brilliance, because you reward that which means the most. And what he was saying to you as an adult and someone who's influential is it means more to give and to support others than it is just to do it on your own. What a great lesson. That's good. That's tweetable, by the way.
Well, and usually I have to be honest and say that when I tell that story to younger people, I use scoops of ice cream, because I don't want them to think that they should be getting money for playing. Like, that's not the motivation.
Right.
It, remember, take the lesson, not the. So
that's a good.
And I actually would be happy to be paid in ice cream. Haagen-Dazs are my favorite. So
I'm all about the chocolate. So like.
There is. Okay, so chocolate. Do you like anything in the chocolate?
You can have chocolate, anything. Like, I don't like any candy other than chocolate. Like, it really is all about the chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, whatever. It can have stuff in it.
So when you have chocolate ice cream, what do you put? Do you put chocolate items in it?
Yeah, then? I might put Oreos. Like, I might put, maybe M&Ms. Like, I'm chocolate on chocolate. That's for sure. Yeah.
I'm making a note of that.
And I'm
making a note of that. I got my pencil right here. Wow. Now, everybody, we've got 10 minutes. I can't believe the hours have gone by. It's been phenomenal. First, just a little bit of reminder that Brandi's Corner is not for Brandi to be talking at people. It's obviously to open up a discussion, to talk about things that are, to be honest with you, very interesting to me. But I think I want to be better. I want to listen more deeply. I want to connect people together. And that's what Brandi's Corner is for. I believe that's what the essence of Women in Soccer is for. I believe that we all have the capacity, like Carla Overbeck, to impact somebody's life. I want us to be ready for the moment. That's why I think tonight's discussion on change has been next level critical. Our country needs change. And I think we can be the agents and the examples, right? Women's soccer, especially, let's be the examples. Before I bring on Courtney, I want to say that the point of all of that was that we talked about homework, and then you gave me a great term, Erica, and I want you to share it because I want everybody to be changed tonight, or I want them to work on change so that when we come back to Brandi's Corner, we can spend a little bit of time on what happened to me in this upcoming month that maybe I wasn't ready for or I hadn't tackled, but I decided after this that it was time. And you tell us.
I love it. So I don't call it homework. I call it self-work, right? Like homework is like sometimes creates fear and apprehension with people and like I got to turn it in and someone's going to check it. But when you call it self-work, there's a level of self-accountability to it that this isn't for anybody else. This is for me. So I want the self-work that we really want you to think about is you've identified some real key characteristics of yourself that help you move through change. And the homework, or the self-work, I should say, is really just to figure out how are you going to intentionally leverage that between the next time that we talk to you, right? So there's one thing to say, I'm just always doing it and I'm not thinking about it, but I'm just always, I'm always a believer. There's another thing to say, I'm a believer and I'm going to believe in the time where it comes up. When I run into the next, challenge that I have, I'm going to intentionally say to myself, I believe or whatever, and I'm going to use that as my motivation. So we want you all to use this opportunity as a chance to do self-work and really think about how am I going to use the thing that I've now explained to people a couple of times. How am I going to use that and intentionally leverage it as I move forward through change?
That is awesome. And you can see I've changed because now my hair, yes, now I'm getting ready for soccer.
You're going to coach. Like, what is it?
I'm going out to coach tonight, and I can hardly wait to use all the things that we talked about tonight with my players. I am definitely having a session of bringing something, all of us bringing something with us, and we're going to discuss what describes us and, how we lean on that thing. So Erica, I honestly, listen, everybody, I didn't say this at the beginning. I got two more things to say about Erica. Well, I have a lot to say about you, Erica, but I will save most of it for another time. But your position in soccer was a goalkeeper. Did I have that correct? And that seems very appropriate because you're scooping things up and you're distributing them in a way that is great for the team, and that you recognize that, your communication helps other people stay connected and safe and going in a positive direction. So I want to say that your position fits you perfectly. Yes.
I feel seen, Brandi. Thank you. I never use that analogy, but I get it. And I'm also I'm a goalkeeper, but I'm 5'1". So that doesn't even make sense instinctively, but I think you just nailed it. Thank you.
But I think it makes sense now because I know you that you're fearless. So it doesn't matter how you can be as big as you want to be.
Thank you.
Right? Exactly. You can be. And the second thing is, when looking up Erica, we probably all have pictures out there of ourselves that were like, what? How did that get out into the world? I saw you with LL Cool J, and I want to say approved.
Oh,
that's it.
So funny. You never know what's up there on the internet. You never know.
So the deepest amount of gratitude for you, Erica. This has been phenomenal. We are lifelong friends and teammates on Women in Soccer. Thank you so much for enhancing and elevating Brandi's Corner to a whole new level.
It was my honor. It really was. I love this. I'll be back. I'll be back as a student perhaps next time, but I'll be back. I promise.
Phenomenal. Well, that leads us into what we do always at the end of Brandi's Corner, which is we talk about what's coming next. And so we can get ready for it. We can share it with our friends. So you can get your friends to sign up, everybody, for Women in Soccer. Bring a friend next time.
Thank you, Brandi. Thank you, Erica. And this will be happening again, everybody, March 10th.
Yep.
And we invite you to come back because it's a quilt right now. We're sewing it. And that quilt will be the infrastructure of allowing stories to really cement into the American soccer culture and hold their space and their value. And that's important. I could cry.
Awesome.
I'm just going to.
No, cry. Tears of happiness are always allowed. And gratitude. Again, thanks to everybody for coming tonight. Erica, thank you very much. Thank you for joining and getting your player card and being a part of Women in Soccer.
I'm all in. I look forward to the next one.
And I'll see you guys March 10th for sure. Who knows, maybe on a soccer field near you. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandi. Thank you, Erica.
All the best. All the best. All the best.